Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the FF Expo at home draft night in because draft night out is happening at the actual expo right now. So we are coordinating and meshing with them. I think I just made up a word, but who cares? So we have 8 or 9 panelists. We're missing somebody. He dropped off maybe because his computer was dead, but we will see him here shortly. But we've got 8 guests. Some of them you know from last night. Some of them are new. So I'm going to go through and introduce them real quick. We've got Matt McCarthy at MattThotical1. We have Jay Christensen at JC_DFF. We have Matt Kelly at that Matt Kelly. We've got Everin Ritter at Ev_Rit3. We've got Joel Segrist FF, new to the party today. We've got Craig Ree, Roto Heat Craig. If you've seen a GIF with your face on it, it's probably because of Craig. And then we've got Burner of Stone. And there is our beautiful 9th panelist, Mr. Bo McBig Time himself, Hotbox Batch. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? Or today, whatever.
All the great things.
Awesome.
Draft night, afternoon, morning in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set up the all the tweets to get the people in here to watch. So,
Matt, Joel, Matt. Craig, Clayton, Bo, you're all new. So starting with Matt Kelly, tell us where people can find you, and plug anything you're working on. And
yeah,
we'll
man.
The table.
Thanks for having us on, and my buddy down there below me, Burner of Stone, Clayton Stoneburner. He is my co-host over on the Pick Is In Fantasy Football Podcast. Got our nice little logo going on there in the background. We're doing 2 weeks right now. Every Monday is Mock Draft Monday for us in the month of August, and then Fridays we're going through values, our all-in players we're folding on, that kind of thing. So that's what's taking place, and you can find us over at the Pick Is In Fantasy Football Podcast.
Very nice. Mr. Joel Segrist, how you doing today, and where can people find you and what you're working on?
Yeah, I'm doing great. So I can be found on Twitter at JoelSegristFF. Yeah, I don't actually do any writing right now, but I build websites for fantasy football creators. So if you're interested, hit me up and shoot me a DM.
Yes, you do. I've seen 2 of your products personally with Dominate FFs and the Fantasy Wildcard. Both well done.
Yep. Thank you. Troy King, Eric Moody. I've worked with a lot of cool people.
Love it. All right, Craig. Where can people find you? What you're working on? How you doing? You got 5 kids, so you're probably tired all the time.
Yeah, I'm not working on any more of those, thankfully. So, I'm an IDP content creator mainly. Do that over at Roto Heat, and then recently I started hosting a Tuesday night IDP show with Getting Defensive. So do that. I do some writing, all that sort of fun stuff in between, taking care of the kids and work. So thanks for having me on.
And making gifs of my face.
That's true.
Yeah,
I do a lot of that too. But that's a lot faster. So.
All right, Mr. Burner of Stone, Clayton Stone Burner. How you doing today? And where can people find you? And what are you working on, sir?
He gone.
Yeah, I think he dropped off.
He just disappeared.
I was looking at Twitter. Let's get him back in the stream. Clayton.
I'm back, man. Dealing with some new internet issues, man, but you can see me clearly. At least I hope you can. So it's an upgrade over the DSL I had last week. You can find me on Twitter at Burner of Stone. Like my partner up there, Matt Kelly, said, we are the Pick Is In Fantasy Football Podcast. You can also find episodes of Faces of Fantasy kind of in a hiatus right now, kind of some things going on. Hope to resume soon. Probably slow down during the season. It's going to be kind of harder to get guests. But, yeah. And you can find us on the Wrestling Mat podcast. We've been on a few episodes of that as well. So
I love your accent. Where are you from? Please tell me.
I'm from South Texas, right around the Victoria area. So I reside in Mountain Home, Idaho now, though. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know where that is, but that sounds fantastic wherever you're speaking it. So
I appreciate that.
All right, Bo, Mick, big time. You are big time. Where can people find you? What are you working on? And please plug your hot sauce because it's flipping fantastic.
Thank you. Bo_Mick Big Time on Twitter. Big Time Flavor _ for my Instagram food pornography page. It's filthy, not safe for work content. It's also the home of my food company that I created last year. That's really taken off thanks to the fantasy football community. That's bigtimeflavor.co, home of the world's most deliciously intense condiment, hot box gourmet hot sauce. Get that along with 4 different seasoning blends at bigtimeflavor.co. So yeah, it's mostly that. I mean, that's what I'm working on now. I have Nimble with Numbers right here in the house. He's watching the Bears game in the other room. So it's if you hear yelling and crying, it's because something happened. And I mean, he's got a lot of emotion built up in him because it's like we have a lot of things going on. Northern California is blazing hot, so we're not going outside.
Dude, I am in Greenville, South Carolina. My wife and I went to a child's consignment sale this morning and had to park probably a quarter of a mile away from the building. And just the walk to and from the building, we were like, we're not even going grocery shopping this afternoon because of how flippin' hot it is.
Yeah, it's 69 degrees in my house at all times.
Hell yeah.
But even just climbing the just climbing the stairs for me, it's like I'll change plans. Like if I plan to go somewhere and I have to make an extra trip up the stairs, I'll just abandon those plans. That's just how it. That's what I'm working on now is making the stairs not change my day-to-day plans.
Man, achievable goals, Bo. Achievable goals.
I love it. Okay, so for today, this afternoon, we are doing draft night in, and the 9 of us, as well as 3 others, are actually doing a 1 QB PPR draft, and it's going to be an actual league. So we'll keep you posted throughout the year on how this league is going. But Matt McCarthy, Methodical, has his screen to share with us. So we'll pull that up, and then I'll get the draft started. And we'll just kind of chat about draft picks and talk trash to each other and have some fun. So here we go.
If anybody looks weird, it's because it's all on one screen for me. I don't have 2 screens. I'm not fancy enough with that. So if anything looks weird, I have no idea because everything, the StreamYard is like in this little itty bitty window on the side now. So, and you guys gave me the 12th pick because I get no favoritism and I get no advantages.
No, you don't.
Shocking pick there, Joel.
You know, it's between him and Tebow, and I figured I'll wait on tight end.
Hey,
You
look,
reached,
I
you
had to
reached.
take
That was a
Tebow
reach.
at 201 in Polly's playoff. Thank you, Fox, for making your donation, which you screwed my team. So yeah, that was fun. I won't be taking him at 2. Well, I don't have the 201, but Matt, don't take him at 201. So I'm on the clock.
I wouldn't dream of it. You're good. He might fall to you. Let's see what happens here.
I'm going to go Derrick Henry. I think he's going to kill it for redraft. So far we are through 5 picks, and it's just been straight running backs. Dad bod Brett, who was with us last night, took Kamara at 3. Anybody surprised by that?
No, this is full PPR. This is full PPR, 1 QB, no tight end premium, no mega flex, dodeca, ultra extremo. None of those, none of those settings. So everyone at home is aware. There's no craziness to this. So this is going to be what like most of your home leagues are going to look like. So if anyone sees anything crazy happens because they decided to do so. So
Yes, chaos.
Yep.
And
I'm here
Evan, you
for
are
it.
on the clock.
Come on, Evan.
Sorry, dude. Told you I rushed here from work. I was getting the babysitter taken care of.
Sniper,
All right,
no
so
sniping.
You're good? Okay.
Sniper,
All right.
no sniping.
Oh man.
All right, what do we got? Saquon here. Let's go with my boy who's going to have a huge bounce back year.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, you don't have the Dallas stuff on today.
How many
yeah.
options do we have here? I know.
They had to rep the GF2 today, man.
Evan,
You said full PPR. It's confirmed full PPR.
yes.
Yes.
All right. This might disappoint some people.
And he's got Travis Kelce.
Oh, there it is.
Dang.
Once he said it
Ooh,
isn't
I
full
like that.
PPR,
I like that.
Bo hitting us
Yeah.
with the spicy Bo Picante pick.
Great pick.
Yeah.
Great pick.
I like that a lot for.
I draft 100% on upside, and I believe his upside is 100 plus receptions for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns just receiving.
Yeah, he's one of my. I'm actually happy I didn't have 8 because if Eckler went right ahead of me, I would have been mad because Eckler I think is one of the best picks that's currently going in the first round for sure.
I hate picking in the middle of the first round because I like either 1 through 3 or 11, 12. I want something on the ends for my first round just for preference. And so Eckler's the guy I would have picked if he was there at 11 or 12 if I had that pick. So
we could trade. You can have my spot. I get to have Eckler and the rest of that.
Ooh,
the
1.7. Devontae Adams, I love it.
Ooh, the first wide receiver.
Craig, I believe that was
Craig.
you. Tell us why you're going wide receiver first round.
There's a few reasons. One, I don't like the running back value a whole lot right here. I know there's a lot of Taylor and Chubb believers. Chubb not so much for me in PPR, but also the fact that living up in Wisconsin and not being a Packer fan, I still get subjugated to dealing with these Packer games constantly. And it gives me some rooting interest in caring how the Packers do. And the fact that I think Rodgers and that team are going to be out to try to prove everyone wrong one last time. So,
yep, I hope you're right as a Packers fan, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, I like that pick, especially with what you mentioned about the running back volume. Then Toby took Kelsey as the first tight end off the board. We talked a little bit about this last night. Anybody have any objections to where Toby got Kelsey?
No,
that's pretty fine.
I think it's kind of the perfect spot for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, into the first round. Yep.
And then Clayton, you took Taylor J. You took Aaron Jones, and I'm assuming this is because it's full PPR. So please explain that pick for me.
Yeah, that pushes him up a little bit. It would be between him and Chubb, and looking at the wide receivers too, but I wanted to grab a back there. So I like Aaron Jones this year with Rodgers back.
Yep.
I like it, Jay. Jones has been one of the most productive backs over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
I think he gets slept on. Yeah, he does.
Yep. Matt McCarthy took Chubb and Diggs. I love that. That's a great 112-2-1 turn. And then it is back on Jay. Matt, do you see Diggs finishing as the wide receiver 1 this year?
I think there's 5 guys. There's an elite 5. If I see any receiver that's not Adams, Diggs, Hopkins, Ridley, or Tyreek Hill go ahead of those 5, I think it's a mistake. I think it's any one of those guys. Diggs was, he contributed for like what 33% of all of the real fantasy work that Josh Allen had last year. He was a big part of what that made that offense really click because we had the difference of you finally had a guy who was 6 foot over in Buffalo. Because Josh Allen was throwing cannonballs to guys that were under like 5'10". Diggs we saw that he is a big playmaker. He is an elite receiver. He finally got the due diligence. I was really hoping for like a Taylor Chubb, Aaron Jones Chubb sort of 1-2. Because I think the running backs towards this first round, I think this year they're getting pushed up a little more heavily than they have in previous seasons. But I really do like the first 9 running backs that went. 10 running backs went in the first round. Those guys all completely make sense. I think that's what it should kind of be.
Yep. All right, Toby, I'm questioning your decision-making here just a little bit, but the first rookie, and you're not here to defend yourself, and I don't really care. But first rookie off the board is Naji Harris at the 2. I can't see that on my
2-4.
2-4.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about that? Which would, I think if Matt is right, that makes him the running back 11. How do you guys feel about that for redraft? Clayton, since you picked right before him, I'm going to have you answer that first.
I don't necessarily hate it looking at the position he was in. I personally would have gone Gibson over Harris. Najee's not horrible. He's going to be good, and he's going to get it done, if nothing else, on volume alone. But I'm just a big Antonio Gibson guy, man. I love what Craig did there with Adams and Gibson, and I'm kind of jealous, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good little stack there, right, as well. Bo, Calvin Ridley, I love that pick where you got him. I was actually just looking to see if he was still available for my pick, and he's not. So, Bo, with Calvin Ridley going as the wide receiver 5, What's your thought process there? I know you said you draft only on upside, so explain his upside for me.
Yeah, and I was thinking more of kind of like that implied upside of just having so much volume is he's going to have a high floor and a high ceiling, which I think that was kind of the deciding factor over the other wide receivers sitting there still. AJ Brown going there, and then I'm sure DK Metcalf's coming off the board pretty soon. But over those two in the full PPR for me, it was like I can expect more like good starting weeks out of Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
If Dad Broad Brett can just take Ryan Tannehill right here, like just to mess up Shane, I would love that.
I wasn't planning on going Tannehill for the Super Tennessee stack, but I did like the one that I did end up with. Evan, you have Zeke and CEH, and I love that pairing of two guys that I think are going to surprise people and bounce back significantly. What was your thought process when you picked CEH, and how high of an upside do you think these guys have?
I mean, I just love the Chiefs offense, and I don't see, him. He's going to get all the usage. I know a lot of people are on Darrell Williams as a late flyer, maybe stealing some work from him. But I think in his second year, Andy Reid is just really going to, find ways to get him the ball, and his upside is tremendous in that offense. So, yeah, I'm looking for a big bounce back from both of the backs I chose. And I like, in the early rounds going running back, obviously with the it falls off a cliff, as we all know. So I like to secure two backs, and especially in PPR, I think they both, have the chance to catch some balls, and each have tremendous upside. So.
Yep.
I love Joel's pick there with Keenan Allen because I think in full PPR, I think he's the closest you can get to the Elite Five. I think in terms of receptions, I think he's probably going to bounce around between, what Diggs, Adams, what Ridley's going to do, because I think Ridley can have like 185 targets as well. But Keenan Allen, I love what
he really can, man.
Like Joe Lombardi coming over to LA, I think is going to really utilize Allen and Eckler quite a bit. I'm really high on the Chargers this year. Joel Segrist has nailed it with this DeAndre Swift pick as well. I love your pick, Joel.
Thank you.
Okay, so Joel, before we address we let you address your picks. Matt Kelly, you took J.K. Dobbins and then Justin Jefferson, so you've got the Cook Jefferson stack, like I've got Henry and A.J. Brown. Does Dobbins being paired with a rushing quarterback worry you at all?
It does to an extent, but if you look at the end of last season, once JK really got involved into the plan from weeks, was it like week 13 on, week 11 on, he was nothing but a running back 2 or better. I think he's only going to see more and more volume. It's going to be a top 5 rushing attack once again. I don't see that changing in Baltimore, and with the elite running backs coming off the board this early, I felt like it was a tier break there. And so I've been in on J.K. Dobbins since last season. Grant you, I think he was a bad draft pick last season considering where you had to take him, but I think the volume's going to be there for him this season.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I really like Dobbins this year, and Lamar doesn't scare me too much to not take him. Okay, Joel, you absolutely nailed your turn with Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift. What was your thought process there?
Yeah, so I mean, Keenan Allen, I think Matt nailed it. I think he is the highest upside outside of the Elite 5 because he's going to see, he's had like 98 plus catches like the last 4 seasons or something. And like this year is not going to be different than that. He's going to get 100 plus receptions. He's going to be, probably 1,200 yards at least. And he's going to see the volume that very few receivers in the league see the volume, and coming from Herbert, I love that. And then I wanted another back. And so Swift as RB15 is something I'm really excited about. I don't really like drafting at 1 because I think a lot of the good running backs are gone after McCaffrey. So I was really happy Swift fell to me because I think he's got a lot of upside in PPR. There's nobody else to take the targets from him. So,
yeah. I love that. And that's kind of why Hawk is a guy that I really like this year. Because it's, to me, in Detroit, it's Hawk and Swift, and then a bunch of unknowns or
Tyrell Williams.
I'm not worried about Tyrell Williams. So I like that a lot. I went Mahomes at 304, if Mahomes is available for me in a 1 QB league in the third round, I'm taking that every time. Maybe late second, but Mahomes in the third just feels like stealing.
Yeah, that was going to be my pick if you didn't snag him.
Yeah, so I had to take him there. Evan, you took Terry McLaurin. Bo, you took Kittle. Any worries about Kittle's injuries?
No, and if I didn't take Ridley in the second, I would have gone after a different guy that you guys know I really like. But because I already had Ridley, and I really don't want to hamstring myself to kind of want to force a reach on Matt Ryan later, I gave myself a really good option to take over a little bit more of a leverage pick there with Kittle because his upside is tight end 1. He's up there at the same level as Travis Kelce. The volume is still pretty good. He's not going to get 150 targets like Kelce, but he's going to get 125 to 130. And if you can get that positional advantage at the top of something with scarcity, I'm all for it. I never plan for injuries because you never know when they're going to happen and to who.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Craig, I loved your pick so much that when I saw it pop up on my phone that Allen Robinson went 3-8, I was like, who the hell just made that pick? And then I saw it was you, and I was like, oh, Craig's team's looking real nice. So talk to me about Allen Robinson in the third.
He's just been productive throughout his whole career with junk at quarterback, and I have faith that at some point Justin Fields is going to take over and be better than most of what he's had, if not all of it, throughout his career. And I'm excited to see what he's going to do with more fantasy-friendly quarterback play. So he's a great receiver, and with a better quarterback, I think the sky's the limit for him, even from where he's finished in the past year.
I gotcha.
If I'm taking along with my picks, it's just because I wanted you guys to get some conversation in because I have the double pick, so I figured I'd just make it a big block.
I appreciate that, Matt. Clayton, we'll come back to you for your fourth round pick because I want to talk to Jay about his third round pick, Travis Etienne at the 311, which makes him the RB 18, 19, if I'm counting correctly.
19 by my count.
19, yeah. That Chris Carson I had queued up. Burner burned me there. I had him at the top of my queue. You guys Robinson was up there too. And then, so I jumped him over. You get Jacobs and Sanders there. I'm just so lukewarm on those guys that I'm shooting for some upside with ETN. The PPR helps. I think he's going to get tons of catches there. I like hearing him being moved all over the field and getting involved. If that happens, I think he's solid in this format. So a little risky, but I like the upside. So
a little, but I also like the upside. So appreciate that. All right, Mr. Stone Burner is not with us currently, but he is on the clock. So maybe when he hops back in, we can get that up and running. Okay, so far we're through 3 rounds. Any picks significantly surprise you? And we're going to go through the entire panel here. So,
damn it.
Matt,
took all that time to snipe me again. Man.
It's time a cowboy goes.
God. Damn it, Clayton.
Any picks surprise you so far?
Yeah, I got the Buffalo Bills stack. You guys let me have the most ridiculous stack that can happen. So thank you. Josh Allen is going in some people's as their QB1, and Stephon Diggs is competing for wide receiver 1. I did not expect Josh Allen. I don't like taking quarterbacks here. I don't like taking quarterbacks in the third round. I don't like taking quarterbacks this early. There's a tier of 6 quarterbacks, and I really don't reach for any of them. But if I have Diggs and Allen is literally sitting there, me passing up would be ridiculous. Amari Cooper is also my wide receiver 12. This is probably my favorite team I've drafted so far this offseason.
Nice. I love it. All right, Jay, any surprise picks for you?
Oh, damn it.
Look at the quarterbacks going sooner is a little surprising just because you generally get in with analysts and things like that, and no one picks any quarterbacks. But you can't those are the 3 top ones for me too. So those. Are
Joe Mixon. You know what? I want to highlight Joe Mixon because I don't want to talk about just my own team. Joe Mixon going at 3.9. I understand people not liking Joe Mixon because he's been one of the worst points per touch in this range over the last few years, around like 0.78 points per touch over the last 3 seasons. The only guys who really have around that range have been Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, mostly because they're just carries and not a lot of reception sort of guys. The guys who are actually leading in points per touch were guys like Alvin Kamara, 1.23. 1.19 was Austin Eckler and DeAndre Swift. Receptions matter quite a bit. The Christian McCaffrey was like 1.18. He also missed most of last year. But Mixon at 3.9, you still want to chase volume. Overall efficiency is going to be the real difference maker for him. But Mixon, I actually like a lot where Z2 Fantasy got him falling all the way to 3.9 because I think he's a top 12 back.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I considered him at 3-4, but like I said, if Mahomes is there in the third, I'm taking him. And I like him way more than I like Mixon, but I considered him at 3-4.
I considered him at 3-1. I almost went Swift and Mixon at T12 3-1.
Oh, wow. That Matt Kelly, any surprise pick for you so far?
Yeah, no, the other Matt basically took it right off my hands. I was going to say Joe Mixon as well, there in the third round. Pretty much every mock draft Monday that Clayton and I have been doing, he's been going, mid-second round, which is a little bit rich for me. But, to Matt's point, if you can get there and chase that volume all the way down to the third round, that's where I get really comfortable with drafting somebody like a Joe Mixon.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with that. Evan, you just picked Robert Woods, so explain that pick for me and tell me if you've got any surprise picks so far.
With Robert Woods, I really I think he's going to not that he can take much more of a leap than he already has, but with Stafford, I mean, I think coming off of Goff to Stafford is going to be a huge upgrade for him. Obviously, I think him and Cooper Kupp are going to thrive in that offense. And then with the running back with Akers going down, I think they may be inclined to go a little more pass heavy. And I mean, I just love how Sean McVay can scheme up things for Robert Woods. Surprise picks. The only thing I may agree with Jay a little bit that, while they are the quarterbacks that we expect to go off, I think it was a little early besides Mahomes for them to start going. Usually you start seeing them in the 5th or 6th round, but nothing really surprising now.
Yeah. Joel.
Brett, Lockett was going to fall all the way to me. Why do you got to do that?
So he actually has Metcalf and Lockett. If he doesn't come back with Wilson in the 5th round, I'll be very surprised.
Man, I might just take Wilson right here just because I'm upset with you.
Can Metcalf and Lockett have a good game in the same game?
That's a problem as well because Lockett his overall points per game looked pretty solid last year, but most that's because of 3 or 4 extremely large performances, right? The second half of the year, the entire Seahawks was a disaster, but then again, they changed out their offensive coordinators because of that. So you had first half of the year where you had, Wilson, Metcalf, and Lockett were all kind of, all guns blazing, and then fell off as a unit, right? So let's see how that actually works out into the second half of the year. Into 2021. But it's interesting. So Matt Kelly, you're pretty much just, stopping him from taking Wilson here because I don't think Wilson should come back to him. He could, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I just to speak on my pick of the Robert Woods pick, I really wanted Lamb and Kyle Pitts. Obviously, they both went, and
Matt
then I
Kelly,
said I was battling between kind of Woods, Lockett, and Andrews, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go with Woods, and I'm gonna hope Andrews gets back to me, and obviously that did not happen. So
what does the Seahawks buy? I need to know what their bye week is, so we know that's so I can schedule myself for. All right, so week 9. Just congratulations to whoever plays Brett because that's such a layup.
Man, but otherwise, that is such a lethal trio to have.
I've never seen that stack before. I will.
No, maybe for the first half of the season.
And I think with the new offensive coordinator, they're going to be more predictable season long. I think Brian Schottenheimer is a mess. I think hiring him to be a passing game coordinator in Jacksonville, the worst decision that I've ever seen made in a professional context. Because he doesn't know anything about the passing game.
It wasn't even Urban Meyer's 4th worst decision this offseason.
Okay, Urban Meyer having Darrell Bevell and Brian Schottenheimer running that offense, the 2 Seahawks offensive coordinators who both kind of fizzled out with so much talent. I'm like, man, you are not putting yourself in a good position, Jacksonville. But
I don't like that coaching staff. I think Jacksonville is going to be the most unpredictable team this year in terms of a week-to-week performance, because they still technically like James Robinson quite a bit, and they brought in who did they bring in? They brought in Carlos Hyde on like a 2-year deal. Am I incorrect on that one?
No, that's right.
I am super unsure of yes, we have Lawrence. You start with Lawrence, right? Boom, one of the best QB prospects since possibly Andrew Luck, right? But also let's see what happens with Justin Fields and stuff like that, right? But man, I don't really like those receivers because I think it's going to be frustrating week to week seeing what the production is going to be. So congrats to whoever drafts Jaguars. I'm most likely not going to have many outside of Etienne, and even Etienne, I'm still unaware of how much receiving work he's actually going to get, because that is a skill set. We all kind of know that at this point. That's why you draft him. But man, it's Jacksonville scares me.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Evan for being a total D-bag with that pick, because he just drilled into my head. I was like, oh, it's 4 point per passing touchdown. I got Lamar. He's gonna come back. And he's coming back. And then there goes Evan.
Yeah, I usually would take Prescott there, but I have way too much stock of Prescott. So
I have a lot of both, so I was okay with either way. I was gonna make the choice, but I was locked in right before you picked him with Lamar, and that hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, if I didn't have Diggs, I prefer Prescott. If I specifically just did not have Diggs, I knew Allen was most likely not going to come back with me at the 12, because thanks Shane. I prefer Dak. Dak is my QB too, and I'm quite bullish on him, even with this MRI news. There's some sort of worry that it might be like a UCL thing, and that's usually a Tommy John situation. So, but that's
it says lat muscle. That's saying close to the elbow.
I've heard multiple conflicting ideas of what's actually the situation, because I've heard the armpit. So it's how much further up the arm are we going?
No, it's the lat muscle that's right here. So when he comes over the top, it catches and it's uncomfortable. And so they're going to shut him down, because the only way to get that to recover is just by not doing anything with it.
Let's see what I got here.
NBA Rig just throwing a couple good questions that I want to pose to you guys while we're still drafting. This one that I've got up: what makes Etienne third round? What's that pathway feasible in a new offense? Jay, you already kind of talked about this since it's your pick, but anyone else want to address that?
Yeah, I will. So I took Etienne as my RB2 in the Scott Fishbowl, and I really like him for this year. I think he's got the pathway to the receiving upside, which in a PPR league is what I'm looking for. And I mean, they've talked about they're lining him up at receiver and in the slot and in the backfield and all those different things. And I think he's probably going to split backfield work with Robinson. There's even a chance that Robinson gets more carries than him, but Etienne could get 70, 80 targets easy. And I think that especially where end of the third round, he went as what, RB 18, 19 or something?
19, yeah.
I think there's a lot of really solid upside compared to, you look at the guys that went after him, like Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs. I don't think
my
those
picks
guys,
as well.
Okay, but your picks weren't running backs.
They are running backs. Jackson and Davis.
I think the running backs after Etienne, there's a big drop off, and I think Etienne has kind of the best receiving upside of anybody left in the draft.
What if I counter and say I prefer Gaskin and Davis to Etienne?
Ugh, Mike Davis.
Man,
I think you're
Mike
psychotic.
Davis.
Mike Davis needs to stop being thought about in an incorrect way. So yes, he had finished as a 12 running back last year, based primarily just because of his receiving work. Receiving work matters way too much in a full PPR format. He had 1,100 total yards and was a top 12 finish. In three or four of his games were not even really accounted for because he didn't start because of Christian McCaffrey. So Etienne, Davis, we have to look at these guys. So DeAndre Swift moved up rapidly up my draft boards in this offseason because receiving work matters. David Montgomery, everyone's like, oh, why is everyone ranking him so low? Well, it's because David Montgomery last year had 55 receptions, was the fourth in the league in receiving work. They added Damian Williams and they added Tariq Cohen back, from being injured all of last year. If you think Dave Montgomery, sorry to Dad Bod Brett, he's still a good running back, but if you think his receiving work is that good enough to propel him to being the finish he had last year, because I believe he finished as the RB4
good pick, bro.
in points, you need to really consider that how much receiving work really matters. It matters so much more than carries. Mike Davis, Quadri Olson can go run into the line 14 times for 30 yards and give you 3 fantasy points. That doesn't matter to me. If Davis catches 6 balls a game, I love that.
Does he get this used the same way there though? He's in Atlanta now.
He was in Atlanta, so Atlanta has their offensive corner and head coach use their running backs the second and third most of all snaps in 2020 because you have the Tennessee and Chicago coaches coming in to fill those slots, right? If they want to use one back primarily and they use that, Mike Davis is not a runner. That's not his skill set. He can catch passes and he's good at that. He did a very good job trying to be a mimic to Christian McCaffrey last year. Use that. You lose Julio Jones, you gain Kyle Pitts and a rookie, but it's still a rookie, and you have a tight end who's attacking the middle of the field. Linebackers and safeties have to cover Pitts and have to take care of Hurst if they're going into these big stacked lines. Gives you more opportunity for Davis to run free. Davis is being extremely underlooked. Gaskin as well. I think there's two of the cheapest real featured running backs to be seen in the NFL this year. So guys like Etienne, who I do love, I'll have behind those guys because there's still a worrisome outlook to how he can really be effectively used by a coaching staff that I think are all full of morons.
Is it fair that I don't like any of the 3?
That's a fair point because if you're going because you're grouping them all together.
At their ADP, I don't like any of them because Etienne isn't as good of a receiver as people think. So even if he gets the work, there's no guarantee that Urban Meyer's just not going to scrap that as soon as you see how bad his footwork and running different routes is. And his hands aren't that good. He's just got a lot of volume on dump offs last year.
Yeah,
so
I prefer that.
Everybody's implying that Etienne's a receiving weapon, but he's never shown that he can be one other than a guy who can catch a dump off and use his amazing athleticism really well. But that's at the college level. So we really, I'm not sold on him at that early of a stage because, I mean, obviously his upside is pretty damn good still. But, I mean, Mike Davis is not that good at the position. He got a ton of volume when McCaffrey went down. He basically fell into a paycheck where he was a journeyman. He comes in, he's sitting behind McCaffrey. He's not doing anything. McCaffrey goes down. Boom, you're in the most ideal running back situation in the league where you're going to get flooded with touches. And we saw how good he was when he was fresh, and then he fizzled out. He stayed as a running back one because of how well he did initially. Even if he gets 3/4 of that volume, I don't know how long he can hold up because he didn't look good.
And that's that point.
All that volume, the efficiency was terrible.
Quadri Olson, I think, is going to be more involved because Javian Hawkins, I think we can start really saying it. But Hollison, again, still, I don't see him as a receiving option. So again, if they want to use Hollison to run into the line and take the really negative points of work for you, because you don't really want to really hang your hat on guys who are just going to crash into the line and that picks up 1, 2, 3 fantasy points for you over the course of the entire game, because it still works for the Falcons. That will be effective for them from an offensive standpoint, but for fantasy, that doesn't mean anything to me. So Davis here going as running back 24, because it doesn't really matter. Gaskin and Davis took back to back. These are guys that I like, and Gaskin I think is being kind of underlooked because when he was used, he was seeing 40 snaps a game, and in offense I think is being the best that if Tua's healthy and the receivers are as best that the Dolphins have had in some time. I think you see a better Dolphins offense than people are giving a lot of credit to. So I do like those running backs compared to the rest because I'm kind of out on all of the rookies that just went in that round. I think they're all in very just upside spots, and I'm not particularly in on them, even though it's mixed up situations. So it's personally for me. I do like the Ronald Jones pick. Ronald Jones is great.
Let's hear from someone we haven't heard from in a while, and that is Mr. Craig Ree. Craig, you were kind of going with an anchor running back strategy. Do you typically use that? And I love your wide receivers, so please tell me your thought process on why you're taking those guys.
Yeah, I was just sort of looking at, Claypool. I think even though this is PPR and Johnson's going to have a much bigger impact than I think some people think. I think the drops thing is overrated. Claypool is the top guy in Pittsburgh to me, so I like getting him there as my number 3. And then I think Odell, he's a guy that has proven it before. He's clearly got a chip on his shoulder, and I think that's going to be a more improved offense in the passing game than what they've had the past couple of years with him. I think he's healthy and he has something to prove. So if I'm able to get him as my wide receiver 4 in redraft, I'm loving that. And I don't have a normal process. I try to, in redraft, let the draft sort of dictate how I'm going, and I try to not necessarily be on the end of a trend or even start one, just jump in the middle where I feel comfortable value is, and that's just how it played out so far.
Gotcha. Clayton, you are with us. You took CeeDee Lamb and then Jamar Chase as your wide receivers 2 and 3. I loved that, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody cursed you right when you took CeeDee Lamb. So talk to us about those guys and why. How high do you think Chase's ceiling is? And I don't know why my pick is not coming through.
Yeah, I mean, with CeeDee, I think the upside there is obvious. You've got the injury, no matter how severe it is, to Amari. I just think that, like most people do, that this year he's really gonna show that upside. He's really gonna get out there and do some damage for that Dallas offense. And the Jamar Chase pick would have been Brandon Ayuk. However, Jay felt the need to take him one pick ahead of me, and I think I could call that a snipe for sure. For me, with T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, they're all kind of that same range, and I'm happy to get any one of them, especially in the 6th round. But Jamar Chase, that upside is definitely there. And as much as I do kind of prefer T. Higgins this year in redraft, I think Chase is going to do plenty.
Yeah, I agree. So NBA Rig throws a good question. Why is Edmonds' value dropping? Would he have a career year? I'm not touching that Arizona backfield. I don't know about you guys.
Damn.
It's just gross. Like, Edmonds is a good pass catching back, but that's about it. He does not run well between the tackles, and James Conner to me is just hurt too often to rely upon, even as a third option in your fantasy team. I joked last night, and I've actually been saying this for a little while, that Rondale Moore is the best running back on that team. So let's
not Kyler Murray.
Throw this to Evan and Joel. What do you guys think about Chase Edmonds and his value?
Yeah,
Joel,
I actually really like Chase Edmonds. I've been ending up with Edmonds on most of my rosters this offseason because I think he's got the receiving upside. I think he's going to be kind of that, he's going to be the safety valve out of the backfield. Like, he's going to get the targets. He's going to get the touches that way. And in a full PPR format, I was just looking at Dad Bod Brett's team, and Chase Edmonds is a great pick. Antonio Brown was a great pick. Tyler Lockett was a great pick. DK Metcalf was a great pick. All of those guys are players that I wanted. And Chase Edmonds, among that, I think has... I mean, there's obviously limits to it, right? There's some risk baked into it. He's not a between the tackles runner. He's not going to get great goal line work. He never has gotten great goal line work. I think that's going to be James Conner's role, or Kyler Murray's, frankly. There certainly are limitations to what Chase Edmonds can do, but I think in the range that he's going, he's the type of back that I think has a good chance to hit because of the receiving volume.
Oh, guys, before we go to Evan, we effed up. We let Craig get the Rodgers and Adams stack. And not only did we let him do that, we let him do that 6 rounds apart from each other. Craig, you bastard. Great.
Well,
pick.
he fell into a good spot because the 5 teams before him all had QBs already. That's really the thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Les Bo wanted 2 QBs.
Evan, what do you think about Chase Edmonds' value?
Where you can get him, I mean, he's gonna be, at least the start, unless James Conner ends up taking the role from him, which I don't personally see happening, unless he can somehow stay healthy all year. Where you can get him, I think he's a really good value in that offense for sure. Like Joel said, though, I think when they do get down in the red zone, if it's not Kyler Murray running it in, then they probably will turn around and hand it to Conner. So, but that's always been the story with him. But I do think this year, where Edmonds is going, we could end up seeing him, return great value where he's going in drafts for sure.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Austin Eckler light, and I think that's. Obviously, Eckler, I think, is a far better player than Edmonds is, but they're kind of a similar build. They're a similar sort of style player, and I think what we saw from Eckler kind of breaking out a couple years ago is like best case for Edmonds. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think Edmonds is going to be like an RB1, but I think that's kind of the mold of player that I'm drafting for when I'm getting Edmonds.
And Brett says, I like Edmonds better than Kareem Hunt and a round later. Matt Thodical, do you subscribe to this?
So on which players? Sorry, I just picked. So
Edmonds and Kareem Hunt.
Those are two players I'm avoiding in most drafts. So Edmonds is not going to be picking up any more additional work. If anything, he's going to be losing targets. Where does he pick up additional targets than we did last season? He was bad in the lead role, but he was good in his secondary slot. The problem you have is that Kenyon Drake departs over for Las Vegas, right? The problem is that James Conner is a guy who, when stays healthy, he's on pace to catch in the last 3 years around like 50 balls. Kenyon Drake was not a threat in that department. You also had a big portion of the early part of the season lose offensive line work to Kyler Murray. He really, came across that towards the end of the year and pick up rushing work. James Conner is one of the better, I think, values right now currently in drafts. Chase Edmonds is getting a little bit overdrafted. Kareem Hunt, 48% of his work came last year in the fourth quarter. I don't really particularly like drafting a running back who's going to be used as a closer. Nick Chubb, even mixing that time, same thing. We didn't see Kareem Hunt do very effectively in that lead role. He would do better, I think, on another offense where you can get him as the sole back and you can get the primary focus, but he didn't even really see a good amount of receiving work as well. Currently, there's the two players I think are getting a little bit pushed up. I very much am out on Kareem Hunt. Chase Edmonds, I think James Conner, where he's going, typically a round or two later, I think is a better pick. One of those backfields where over there with Denver, I still think Javonte Williams, I don't think should be going ahead of Melvin Gordon. So Jay, great pick there on Melvin Gordon. I think early on in the offseason, we saw that the real talk out of camp was Javonte Williams to lean back. We like this. That Melvin Gordon has shown that he's been the primary player.
Clayton, you're on the clock, just as a reminder.
Yes.
Just sure.
And has had a good offseason so far. Melvin Gordon was actually pretty effective overall what he could do last year. Does Javonte Williams take over at some point? Sure, but who knows if that's week 7, 9, 4. We can't really say that at any single point. I think Melvin Gordon right now is a very good draft value. See how long that lasts for the season. But them and the San Francisco guys, same thing. I can only go what the coaches are telling me, and you can try and read the tea leaves. At least Trey Sermon, I think, is more inclined to work to take primary work, but Javonte Williams wasn't even as like a primary runner in college. Everyone was talking with Heath Cummings and Dave Kluge about this. We all kind of agreed that Javonte Williams currently getting a little bit overdrafted and for people in this offseason.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Jay, you got Melvin Gordon and Damian Harris, which I love for the way that you're building your team. Because I think that is going to give you a floor with your Etienne pick. And Harris still has a ton of upside. So talk to us about those two players and how they fit your team and why you took them where you did.
Yeah, with my running back core the way it was, have to kind of grab some guys in the middle here. And I really like my stack of wide receivers. So Gordon, that fell. I'm not a huge Gordon guy, but at that point, I liked where I was getting him. For what Matt says, he's going to be involved early. We'll see when Javonte takes over. I love Javonte, but Gordon's definitely going to be involved. And then Harris is just not the greatest PPR guy, but in this range here, he should get a good amount of volume on that Patriots team. They're always interesting how they use their backs, but I like, I think he's their preferred guy. The question will be, does he get more goal line carries this year? Cam kind of killed him last year in terms of when they got close. So we'll see what happens there. But I like kind of getting more pieces here for my running back stable.
Yep. I like it. God damn it, Evan.
Evan's on everybody's queue, I think.
All right.
I like his Anderson pick quite a bit. Evans right round 7, Robbie Anderson pick. Just like I just said with the Arizona running backs, I think the wide receivers in Carolina, Robbie Anderson, I like a lot this year. Good. I think it's a great pick.
I agree. I think Anderson going 3 rounds after DJ Moore. I think they've got almost even similar outlooks for.
Yeah, same tier for me. I love that Anderson pick. Evan really nailed it with that one.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm there.
Go ahead. I was just happy that Jay took 3 running backs I really don't like because somebody had to.
I really would have considered Harris there, though, if he had made it back for sure.
I went Tanyan because it's kind of quarterback and tight end heavy here based off of ADP. And this is as we talked about last night, the tight end wasteland. So I'm going to reach above them and take the guy that I want in Tanyan.
That's smart.
Oh, my God. Matt Kelly, did you just take who I think you did? Yes, you did. Matt Kelly, you get the solo screen. You get –
All right.
Hold on.
He deserves it. That's an
Oh,
awesome
I
pick.
can't do it because hold on. Remove.
Hey, you can.
Oh, shit.
Oh shit.
Oh, it's not letting me do what? Oh, that's why. Hold on. Here, I'll get there eventually, people. Hold on. It's still not letting me do it. Okay, Matt Kelly.
Take a bow, baby.
Go ahead. Talk to us about Elijah Moore because I absolutely love that pick. And at 8-11, right after Corey Davis, hit me with the goods, man. I love that pick.
Yeah, Clayton and I have been all over Elijah Moore as we've been going through our mock draft Mondays, and he's just a player that you see what the Jets are doing with him in camp. They're already moving him all around. He's not just going to be a slot guy. It's only, it's Corey Davis. It's Jamison Crowder there. I mean, those guys are great, kind of pieces around, but they're not true number ones. Elijah Moore, man, I think he has the goods to go ahead and be the true number one there for the Jets, and I'm getting him in the 8th round, so love it.
Yep.
Did you guys hear that Denzel Mims is on the roster bubble?
Yeah.
He's been running with the 2s and 3s, man. He's like the wide receiver 6 is what I've seen, which is incredible.
Keep sleeping on Mims, guys. Just keep sleeping.
They're sleeping on him too because they might cut him.
It's not a matter of sleeping. I'm just
that's actually a good move. That's great for Mims if he gets cut from the Jets where he doesn't really fit in from what we've heard. That's great for Mims because then maybe you have a team that comes around that's looking for a vertical guy that can get up and just win the ball.
Saints.
And it's just sad to see that the Jets have loaded up on volume of people instead of just giving their most talented, explosive players more run. Because I don't think Keelan Cole's it. Corey Davis hasn't been the it guy ever.
Yeah.
Joel, you have 15 seconds.
I don't like anyone on my board right now.
All right.
I kept looking at. I'm like, I can't make any of these picks make sense to me.
As long as you made a pick, it's all good, buddy.
I like Pittman a lot. I like Brady some. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have taken him, but that's all right.
Brady's 44 now. That's wild.
I know. Brady's old enough he could be my dad.
Damn it!
You get sniped all over the place, Shane.
He just wants Dolphins.
That's because Shane likes all the players. So everybody that gets picked is angry that
every team.
He doesn't like if it was up to him, he would have all 12 teams and he would just be mocking by himself. That way
you got a much better pick in Boyd. Boyd at 9.4 is ridiculously good.
Yeah. Jeez,
yeah.
Boyd.
Come on. Okay, let's talk about Tyler Boyd.
And Boyd, and I forgot that I actually wanted Boyd in there.
Yeah, I think you should solo screen yourself and talk to us about Tyler Boyd there, Shane.
I don't know if it'll let me do that
because I think he's perfect.
Yeah, so
just perfect.
I think people are honestly probably sleeping on him too. And like there's 3 teams I feel like where you've got 3 options at wide receiver. And why not take the cheapest one? The Bengals are one of those with Boyd. Burrow loves the slot too, or at least did last year when he was healthy. So I think Boyd is going to surprise some people, but I also think Burrow can support 3 fantasy relevant wide receivers. So yeah, I like Boyd a lot, especially in the 9th round, I think is where I just got him as my wide receiver 4. Because he's got potential to crack wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 numbers, I think.
Yeah, you have some really high upside with Smith and Chark. So having Boyd as like a safety valve in case anything goes really wonky is perfect. Because I think everyone's like they should have taken Sewell to shore up that line because especially Burrow with his knee. If Boyd is going to be running the underneath, because just comparing the ADOT, he's like 3 or 4 yards less than what Chase and Higgins usually are accounted for. Chase in college. Boyd might be leading that team in receptions, just based on because Burrow needs to get the ball out in like 1.5 seconds. So I really think Boyd is. If Cooks was on the board, Boyd was one I was actually dancing around. Mooney's a good pick here too, over there for C2 Fantasy. But these receivers, a lot of these guys, Williams, Pittman, Elijah Moore. I like Moore and Davis. I think that whole Jets offense is going to be in a we're going to be like 500 this year, but I think in 2022, I'm really curious to see what the New York Jets look like. I think there's actual hope for that team, which hasn't been seen in like 6 years.
Clayton Stoneburner. You just took Curtis Samuel at the 9-10, and I love that pick. So
Love
Clayton,
that pick.
You are up, sir. Tell us about Curtis Samuel and why you take him here.
Well, I love Curtis Samuel. I love his skill set. I loved him, when he was with the Panthers. I think that because of I don't know if it was competition. I don't know if it was game script, but I don't think we saw the full extent of what Curtis Samuel can do. And I think that in Washington, with fewer offensive weapons, arguably, and the same head coach who loves to utilize him, we're going to see a lot out of him. And it didn't help that at 9-6 and 9-7, my top two guys on the board got taken. So, no, I think there's a lot of upside for Curtis Samuel in that offense, especially with Fitzmagic throwing him the ball. And I'm excited to see what happens with him.
I am too, and I like that a lot. All right, Matt McCarthy, quickly talk to us about Russell Gage, because I like that pick a lot too.
I think he gets hit. I really think he got hidden in the sleeper sort of draft thing, and it's actually something I might be doing an article on, because I think the different sites are going to have different ranks. Russell Gage comes in as like wide receiver 35 for me in my ranks over on Fantasy Pros and Gridiron Ratings. Gallup I like a lot as well. I would have gone a Gage and Gallup if they both were there. Gage, we're not very happy with what his 2020 was. I think more comfortability, because I think he wasn't ready to be thrust into the role that he did see. You have to have more consideration for opposing defenses to look at Pitts and what are they going to do in terms of their offensive alignments. I considered that Gage is going to be out there primarily as their second receiver, and have a second receiver on an offense that might be top 5, 6, 7 in total pass volume. I really like. Didn't really want to go David Johnson with Brandon Cooks, but some sort of production needs to be happening in Houston, which is going to be one of the worst teams in football. So I might as well just take two darts on that. If Johnson or Cooks, we both like as individual players, see what happens.
Yeah, no, if either of them hits, that's a solid pick. Jay, you suck, man. I was, even though I've already got Mahomes, I was really considering Tannehill for the ultimate
You're looking
stack.
for yeah.
And then just trade out Mahomes.
So, great pick.
We can trade. We trading in this league. Is that allowed? We can.
We can do
trading.
trading.
We're rocking and rolling after this.
For Mahomes, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
We'll see. Not straight up, because that's horrible. But yeah, I like that Tannehill pick. He's sneaky.
Yeah, him, Stafford, and Burrow. I was staring at there, and I just edge out Tannehill there. Like
Craig.
Oh
Craig.
my God, Craig, you are evil.
He knows exactly. Yeah, we've been in enough drafts to know that's exactly.
I'm a Cowboys fan too, so we got a little bit. Of
yeah, but
it's right in that range. If I didn't take,
for those of you that don't know, Bo is probably the biggest Tony Pollard fan in all of the Twitterverse, outside of maybe Tony Pollard's mom. It's probably still pretty close.
Actually, I think because I talked to because his parents run a barbecue joint in Memphis. I think I might even like Tony better than his parents do.
Hell yeah!
And they love their son. They love their son. They're very supportive. But no, I'm the biggest fan of Tony Pollard there is.
Yes, and Craig took him one pick before you, like the evil genius
And
mastermind.
I kept muted until I was on deck, because I knew the only person who was going to snipe me on Pollard in the 10th was going to be Craig.
Yep. Well, Bo, you took Latavius Murray, and I actually really like that pick, especially with the MT injury right now. What do you think Murray's upside is with MT being out?
It's limitless, because I actually think I'm not moving Kamara up. I have Kamara at like 5 or 6 for me, just because I don't see his role changing. I see him as the only one left with a cemented role and number of packages in the office. I don't see them increasing his workload just because. The guy I do see getting more work, that we did see get more work when MT was out last year, was Latavius Murray, especially with the receivers really not stepping up, and really you don't have any talent there to step up. There we can reach for Traquan and Callaway all we want, but we still have very limited expectations for how good they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so. I consider there to be 3 like super handcuffs, maybe 4, in the NFL. One of those is Kareem Hunt, the other one is Tony Pollard, and the third one is Latavius Murray. The fourth one is probably Alex Madison.
AJ Dillon might be.
AJ
Dillon
Dillon's
for
probably
me.
in consideration there too. But like the thing with Madison is we've seen him kind of take over for Cook before, and it hasn't been as good as we hoped for. Dillon, I don't know if he's going to be as good of a pass catcher if Aaron Jones goes down. So those are kind of my question marks there. Out of those 3, and everyone on the panel, we're going to answer this in the order that you are. So Matt McCarthy, Jay, Evan, Joel, Craig, Bo, Matt Kelly. I can't see who's underneath you, Matt Kelly.
I think I wrote Craig. I think it's Clayton down there.
Clayton. Okay,
Clayton said his name.
It's me. I'm hidden.
So we're going to go in that order. Which one of those 3 guys are you drafting and why? And you've got to pick one, and let's keep this to 30 seconds. So Matt McCarthy, you start, and I'll be right
Just
back.
run the 3 names again real quick.
Yeah. Pollard, Hunt, Latavius Murray.
Based on where they're going, I'm most likely not going to be drafting Hunt. I said I'm pretty out on what he is as an overall player compared to where you need to draft him. Because again, the 5th round, 4th round, whatever it may be, I think his upside is dramatically reduced about that sort of where you need to take him. I don't like that at all. In terms of where they're going, most likely, Pollard, I think Dallas is really liking what he's shown in camp, and they've liked him for a few years. They're trying to limit back on Elliott having 25, 30 carries a game. It just makes sense. He is the most used running back over the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. So I think Pollard has a good chance to get enough work in that he might even show up in people's flexes quicker than not.
Cool. Jay, Pollard, Hunt.
Who'd you pick,
Latavius
Matt?
Murray.
Was it Pollard or
Pollard was my favorite.
Pollard?
Yes.
Yeah, Hunt would be the one that I don't see the value in early on. Wouldn't be him for me. Really close between Murray and Pollard. I'm gonna lean slightly Murray here, I guess, just over Pollard. I think he's also a guy you can kind of play. They're gonna have to run the ball a ton this year with just a different situation there. Without Drew Brees anymore, no Michael Thomas, and we've seen Murray get it done before when if he has to step in for Kamara at all, he can put up big games as well. Saw that with Pollard too, so it's really similar tier here, but I will edge Murray just over Pollard.
Damn it, Craig. Great pick.
He's ruthless, man.
You could have taken him, but you wanted Marquise Brown.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's your fault.
Yeah,
That's
boo this man.
Okay, Evan.
Boo.
Pollard, Hunt, Latavius Murray.
It would be Hunt if you could, get him later, but he's going too soon. So, it's going to be Pollard for me. Kind of to what Matt said. I mean, he's spot on. They've already said they're trying to, kind of reel back on Elliott's workload and try to preserve them for as long as they can. And Pollard has standalone value anyway. I mean, they like him. He's going to get enough work that I think he has some good standalone value, especially as late as you can get him. So it would be Pollard for me.
Cool.
Fuck
Joel.
you, Jay. Fuck
I
you,
had to
Jay.
do it.
So
I knew you were gonna
fucking
take him.
hard. So fucking hard. Oh man.
I said last night I was going to take him.
Oh no.
That's an amazing.
I am the
great
unsnipeable, I believe, but I have been sniped once in my life.
You wrote an article, but I had to.
I
I knew
know.
he was gone there. I was like, I got to do it.
God, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
That's knowing who you're drafting with, man.
And I am distraught.
Part of the game.
now.
That's part of the game. Good pick, Jay.
All right,
Thank you.
Joel. Who's your 3 out of the super handcuffs?
Yeah, I
Irv
think
Smith's there. I can see Irv Smith. Irv Smith's good too. Disaster averted.
That's who I wanted on the way back around for sure.
Oh man, Shane, I think kind of like what other people are saying. I think Hunt is the best of these 3. I think Hunt is gonna, have the highest ceiling and the highest value, but he's being drafted 5 rounds ahead of him. Like people know that, right? And so I think between the 3 at cost, I would probably take Pollard, just because, kind of to other people's points, like, I don't know, I have a lot more faith in Kamara than I do in Elliott, just because I think Elliott's, I don't know, he's not going to be good forever, and he has so many touches that he's gotten in his career. And I think he's going to slow down this year or next year. And I think Pollard, as soon as Zeke loses a step, Pollard's going to step in there, and the offense won't miss a beat. And yeah, so I think it's Pollard.
Gotcha. Craig, you've actually kind of answered this question for us with your draft pick. But I want to hear your thoughts on, is Murray close for you? Because I think Hunt is out of the question for most of you just because of cost. So let's narrow it down to Pollard and Murray. Which one of those two, how close are they and why?
They are very close, and I think they're in sort of similar situations where they're going to operate, getting a larger share than a lot of the backups in the league.
I have to interrupt you. This is for you. Okay? You can't see me, I think, because the live is over my face, but this is for you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Jay's my nemesis. I'm just steaming over here.
You got Irv.
Craig,
Fine.
Craig is mine. Craig is mine currently.
We have a rivalry week. That's got to be. It's like first week, like second week of the season, we have the warm up game, and then second week, it's
rivalry.
It's got to be Jay.
All right.
Let's see here.
Bo, 30 seconds on Tony Pollard.
You're gonna watch him get the same every third series that was what their rotation was last season, with Zeke going 2 series, then Pollard one, and they would rotate with the different schemes that they would throw at him. So Kellen Moore is predictable in how he uses his players, which is nice. We can kind of get a sense for what their game plans are going to look like, but it's still, they have such a versatile playbook, and that's what I think is they're going to add 4 wide sets with Pollard either at the wing or in the short slot, and run more those long distance or long yardage third down plays with Pollard in mind as a weapon in the offense, rather than just flexing him in for running back carries. He's going to get a lot more receiving work because his position in college was a slot receiver type H slasher role, like we saw, because Memphis likes to run that weird wing offense where 2 running backs are featured.
Yeah. Okay, so I have paused the draft temporarily because I just realized we have kickers in defense. Do you guys want kickers in defense or no?
Yeah, we can do it. Actually, well, I don't mind. I don't really, it's up to y'all if you want to do kickers in defense or not.
I could go either way. I typically don't draft them, but
screw it. Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah, like I might not draft a kicker, but I will roster.
Yeah, that was going to be my thing. We don't have to draft them, right?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, obviously we have to roster them, but yeah.
Yeah, like I do rankings for those positions, like they exist,
Yeah, I mean, even though I'm at going for 2, I still think I'm,
Yeah, we're not allowed to contractually.
Yeah, contractually, but
should we get some a T-shirt that says like kickers don't matter or whatever?
Yeah, no kickers, yeah. But I mean, I still think they're part of the game.
Can I answer NBA Riggs' question?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, this one.
Put it up there. Yeah, he ETN wasn't even comfortable catching balls out of the backfield until before last season. He's been very honest about it, where he knows that his biggest flaw in his game is his footwork and running different routes out of the backfield and from different positions. And his hands were very natural. They still aren't. He's still a body catching individual with just incredible movement in space. So you definitely want to be able to get a guy like the ball in space, passing it or running it. But Tony Pollard was literally a wide receiver in college for about half of the snaps he took, and his receiving skills are natural to him. That's what he does, and he also happens to be extremely good at breaking tackles in his own right. So the skill set is, they're similar size players, they're similar everything you can measure, but their experience and what they do as a position for more time favors Pollard actually, and that's why I kind of fade ETN, because they're rumoring him for a role that he's really not suited up for yet.
Bo, you and I need to have discussions about ETN later on.
Am I in
'cause
timeout?
I love ETN personally. And
I had
I
him
think
as my running back 5 of the class, so that's
gross.
Oh,
We'll
Yeah,
talk about
he's
this later.
good. He's good, but he's limited. He and I don't think that landing spot did him any favors at all.
I don't either. I hate the landing spot, to be completely honest with you. But I think people are focusing too much on the fact that he admitted that he wasn't comfortable catching the ball, that he wasn't good at or didn't have good footwork. Because he went back and he worked on that, and we saw that from a statistical kind of story this year, where his receiving work went up, and his receiving yards and his receiving usage went up even at Clemson. So I think he's getting there. I won't I'll agree with you that right now maybe not, but he's getting there, and I feel like his athleticism, like you've said, is so high that to me I think that will end up playing well for him. Matt Kelly, Pollard, or Murray?
Yeah, it's going to be Pollard for me. I mean, I know it's a very small sample size, but when Zeke did miss that game, Tony Pollard proved that he can ball out. As Bo mentioned, it's pretty natural to him being a receiver. So certainly in PPR, I think the edge has to go to him. And I've been on the Taysom Hill, going to be starting for New Orleans Saints bandwagon, and so for that, I think that takes off a little bit of the value to Murray. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and opt for Pollard there.
Okay, interesting. And last but definitely not least, the Southern gentleman himself, Mr. Clayton Stoneburner. Murray or Pollard?
Give me Pollard all day long. How about them Cowboys? End argument.
I just love hearing you talk. Just continue.
I do too. I was trying to get him.
Yeah, can you talk about something else?
Because Shane said I had a good voice. I love your voice. That is a
really
southern
think-
charm.
I love both of you.
Matt, you also have a good voice.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I can't believe we talked
yeah.
about Tony Pollard for a half an hour. This is unbelievable.
I really
This is
think
my
I really
dream.
think
I
Pollard-
actually need to go change my pants, but I don't want to leave. So.
Jesus.
You can't stand up. I'll knock the camera over.
I'm at a standing desk, thankfully, because otherwise, if I
Good
couldn't
pick,
raise
Craig.
my desk, I'd be in big trouble.
Matt Kelly, you took Henry Ruggs in the I can't see round. Jesus Christ, 11th round. I love that pick. I think here's the problem though. Ruggs and the Raiders and I think Gruden don't fit together, but I think Ruggs is very talented. So what are your thoughts on Ruggs? Why'd you take him at 11-2 or wherever it was? I think it was 11-2.
Yeah, I mean, Ruggs at that particular point is my wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm not going to have to count on him on a weekly basis, and I can really just hopefully only have to play him in some matchup based situations. And his specialty certainly is getting the deep ball. Derek Carr actually isn't horrendous at throwing the deep ball. So
no, he's actually one of the more accurate deep ball throwers in the league. He just doesn't do it enough.
Yeah, so I think it might just be another year or so to really build that connection. They missed on a lot of close plays last season. And, if I do have to fill in for somebody for a week and I need that upside, Henry Ruggs is going to carry that.
Yep. I love that.
I want to point out Craig's pick at 13-8, Marvin Jones. Late is the upside there is a great pick.
Absolutely.
If
Craig, talk
Jay
to us about
allows
Marvin
me.
Jones.
Well, he's just the veteran, of the group. He knows how to get it done. He wasn't really the focus for a while there with Galladay, but when he got hurt, Marvin Jones was able to produce. He's in an offense where, most people aren't projecting him to be one of the top guys, given what else they have there with the running game and Chenault and Shark. But getting him this late, he's my wide receiver 5. Like someone just mentioned about Ruggs not having to necessarily count on him each week. I like the stability that he brings that late.
Yeah, but he has those weeks where he'll go off and has the chance to win you a week. You know what I mean? In the 13th round. So
Totally. Clayton, we are going back to you because you picked. We had this discussion last night. Later, great, and for tight ends, and
damn it, Jay.
my guys for a late tight end, Adam Troutman. Hit me with your Adam Troutman, why you like him, and is he your only tight end? Yes, he is your only tight end.
He's my only tight end, and he's the only one that I need because, I mean, here you have somebody who coming out of Dayton has the athletic profile of an absolute breakout tight end. They got, they didn't re-sign Jared Cook. They didn't bring anybody else in, which means they have confidence in him. And you look at the opportunity with MT going down, targets will have to be spread out. And regardless of who the quarterback is, he's going to get targets, and he's going to do the most with them out of anybody you can get late. And I actually prefer him over guys in convoluted situations like in New England. John is great. I try to avoid him. Irv Smith, I don't know that he's going to be anything more than a touchdown dependent tight end. I hope that's not the case, but it remains to be seen. So yeah, Adam Troutman is a guy that I could easily finish top 8, and I believe that he will, and maybe even top 5. So to get him that late, yeah, it's an absolute steal.
Can I interject for 1 second?
Sure.
It's going to be a question directed to Burner, Mr. Clayton. Just again, I want to hear more of him. Did you like having Logan Thomas in 2020? What did you think of Logan Thomas last year?
I think I might have had him in one league. I picked him up in a dynasty, and he wasn't horrible to have.
Because I think he Adam Troutman is a 2021 version of Logan Thomas.
Yeah. No, he was valuable. I mean, he coming off the waiver wire, especially in a dynasty league, he really was a value last year.
Yeah, you're also on the clock. That's why I didn't want to because Logan Thomas was, I believe, thrust into a role last year. We saw that with J.D. McKissick as well because they were desperate for offensive production. Adam Troutman, for at least 5 weeks until that week 6 bye, and maybe in week 7 we see Michael Thomas come back. But until that point, I think Adam Troutman is going to be looked at to fulfill a need in a questionable quarterback situation. We don't know how it's going to be. Technically, I think I like Taysom Hill more for Troutman if he's the listed starter, as I believe you can have Winston really push the ball downfield a little bit more accurately and better, even though we saw some accuracy issues 2 years ago. But then he got LASIK, so maybe you can actually see who his players are now. So let's see how that happens. But Adam Troutman, I actually really quite like as one of the fringe tight end ones. I do like where you got him. I do prefer either Smith. We had a very rare double snipe on that. I mean, is Brian Edwards a snipe? I was just looking at him like, oh, cool, Brian Edwards is still here, and he's tall, and low ADOT is good for I actually really do like the Raiders offense with Carr. I think Carr is consistently just looked down upon. I think it's because of his coaching staff, just not really making him be as prolific a passer as he could potentially be. They just play it safe too often, and it makes them lose games. And I really do like Carr, and I like a lot of those receivers as late flyers for sure.
Yeah. I to your Carr point, I'm a little worried about their offensive line this year.
Because they got rid of 3 of the 5 stars from last season. Yeah. That's why I don't like Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, I'm way out on. They also added Kenyon Drake, who is literally the same player. So and they paid him the same money. So
yep. NBA Rigged, man, thank you so much for watching and for throwing these questions in there. Joel, I am throwing this question to you just because I feel like picking on you. Why do you think guys like Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, and Gesicki are falling so low? And Bo, you will be our follow-up on this.
All right, so first off, NBA Rigged, you've asked some really good questions, so thank you. Secondly, I always try and draft a top 5 tight end, and then I don't need them, so... No, I'm kidding. I think Logan Thomas worries me because, kind of like what Matt was saying, he was thrust into a role last year where it was all volume based, where like he didn't do a lot with that volume. Like he was the tight end 3, right? But as far as the volume that he got, I don't remember the numbers offhand, but he only averaged 7 yards a catch or something. Like he wasn't moving the ball downfield. He didn't have a lot of touchdowns. He's not like a hugely impressive tight end prospect outside of seeing 115 targets last year. Tyler Higbee, I have never really liked. I don't know. I just feel like compared to the other guys that are going ahead of him, Tyler Higbee has kind of the least upside compared to somebody like Troutman or Johnny Irv Smith or Logan Thomas even. I think Higbee's kind of like the worst of those options. Gesicki, I couldn't tell you. I actually think Gesicki should be going a lot higher than he is, and he's somebody that I like. Out of those three, he's the one that I like the best.
Yeah, and I think it was Matt last night said that 3 of Gesicki's best games were with Tua at quarterback, and
Yes.
Tua is now the quarterback.
Yes.
So
if I needed a tight end 1 and didn't have Irv Smith, I would have taken Gesicki over Higbee. I would probably taken both.
You don't want 2 ones?
Because with Higbee, I'm chasing Stafford. I'm chasing the offense, probably production. That's what I'm doing there. Because I might even take a third tight end because I think tight end late. I mean, have you seen? I haven't taken a receiver in like 5 rounds because I think that's my optimal draft strategy this year: is get your receivers taken care of early, fill in guys that would be looked at on the waiver wire. So guys like these tight ends. So like Gesicki, Burrow. You have a lot of guys that took 2 QBs in this. This is a 1 QB league to everyone watching, but you see a lot of people. So like Joel, even with Brady, who he said he wasn't a big fan of, he picked up Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson plays cool. That's a top 8 kind of quarterback. Justin Fields and Trey Lance for Shane and Aggie Capasig. I don't know what what's his actual name. Shane, who's your friend? Right? Chris Pinto. Yes. They were the 2 guys that draft first 2 quarterbacks in this league. They both took extremely high upside rookies who they can just sit. And they don't have to care about because they have Murray and Mahomes. They love that. And I think this is important for people looking at home to say, like, hey, fulfill things that would happen on the waiver wire, which are last few picks. And the 15 rounds is pretty standard to what most people are going to see out there. So you're going to see, double quarterbacks, multiple tight ends, running backs, take as many runs as you can. Receivers, I'm a lot of the teams I'm seeing there, they have receivers fulfilled early. They're take care of that position because those late receivers, a wide receiver 55 going from 55 to 45 didn't help your team. That's waiver wire fodder. You're going to churn those guys out. But having running backs so you don't have to go race for is a much better idea to have. So a lot of these teams are really strong in that regard for sure.
Cool. Evan, it has been a little while since we have heard from you, but your last pick, Mr. Emmanuel Sanders. I like that a lot, actually. Talk to us about Emmanuel, and you actually took Logan Thomas. So tell us about him too, and kind of what your thinking was on those.
Yeah, I waited a while on tight end, so I didn't really have my pick of the litter, obviously. But I think Logan Thomas showed enough last year that obviously I punted the position. So, I mean, within the 13th round for Logan Thomas's upside in 13th round, I'm just hoping that Ryan Fitzpatrick starts to figure out how to throw to his tight ends. And obviously that's a position I'm probably going to have to work the waiver wire, maybe trade for. I'm not too strong there. But out of what was left, Logan Thomas was my favorite. And then Emmanuel Sanders, I mean, the Bills, we know the Bills are going to throw a ton. And unless, Gabe Davis takes over as the clear-cut number 2, I think Emmanuel Sanders will be able to thrive and do enough in that offense to easily pay off a round 15 pick.
Yep. I love that.
All right, my pick. Hold on, let's see here.
Yep, and then Evan, I'm going to make you answer this question too. Who are your guys' top 3 defense? Craig, we're going to also throw this to you because you are IDP. Anyone else in here particularly versed in IDP?
Hell no. Craig covers it over for with the GR people. I don't do that. I have team defenses, but not like any real deep defense knowledge.
All right. Craig, go ahead and start answering that question while Evan's already picked, but Craig, answer that for us, and then Evan, I'm going to throw it back to you.
So for me, I mean, the top 2, and you can sort of coin flip on how you want to do them, and they're not built the same at all, but it's Washington and Tampa. Both of them just have what I feel is really good depth throughout, all 3 levels, and they are able to get after the quarterback one, and that's what you're looking for when you're going for team defenses. You're looking for big plays. You're not looking for a team to give up no points or something like that, because those teams rarely come along in fantasy. I forget the exact years, but around like 2005 Chicago Bears, that sort of time frame when they were just amazing. And plus they had Devin Hester, which was extremely
Wasn't it in 2019 that the Patriots defense scored enough points to be a first round pick?
Yeah, they're like 13 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right?
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
That was unreal. So, Craig, I guess the question is do any of these defenses have that potential? And I know that was probably an outlier because of the amount of touch. They scored more touchdowns, I think, than the offense did. But is there anybody with that kind of upside from a defensive unit standpoint?
If you're looking overall, I mean, any of them have that potential. If you're talking about what's generally a value pick for these, I think it was, if you're going in here, the first one taken off the board by Z2. But I think that Broncos defense is extremely underrated. I mean, they have an insanely stacked secondary, plus they can get to the quarterback. You know, they have Chubb and they have Von Miller, but they also have other guys. Draymond Jones was really good on their defensive line last year. I think it was Malik Reed as their third outside linebacker. Was great at getting to the quarterback too. Those are the two big things that you're looking for, because those are the biggest things to create turnovers and get you those big plays on team defense. So value-wise, I mean, generally the Broncos are going a lot later, so I like them. They just happen to go sooner here.
Gotcha. Okay, I have to ask you a selfish question. What about the Browns defensive unit?
Their linebackers concern me.
Yep.
I think they have a nice secondary, and I like what they've done with their defensive line, especially getting Clowney just on a 1-year deal to be across from Garrett, where you know Clowney isn't going to be the main guy focused on. It's a similar thing where they're going to be able to get to the quarterback, and they have a nice enough secondary to be able to create plays off of that pressure. I just have no clue what's going to end up happening with that linebacking core. It's been a mess for several years, and unless someone steps up there, I think that's the weakness of it.
Yep. Nope. I like that and agree with that. That's why I loved the JOK pick, Jeremiah. What's his freaking name?
Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah. So I like that pick. Okay, we are done with the draft, I believe.
Look at that.
Let's
Look at that pretty
go.
board.
Wow.
Damn.
Beautiful thing.
All right. So
Beautiful.
Yeah,
ladies
Shane
and
thought I
gentlemen-
was sending him messages by taking Daniel Carlson. It was I wasn't. I actually fat fingered it because I'm drafting on my iPad and I'm looking at you guys and I was like, oh, I'm looking. What kicker do I want? I was like, I don't like any of these guys. I just want to get this pick filled. And I scrolled down. I was like, oh, Matt Prater might make some more long field goals. And I went to hit Matt Prater and hit Carlson on accident. I'm not shaken up about it.
Carlson will be a pretty good pick for you because that Raiders offense is going to stall out because
that's what the Raiders do. That's what they're good
They
at.
suck.
Yeah. Well, Carlson was the kicker number 3 last year in standard scoring. So I'm okay with the pick, especially he's indoor kicker. You have more fair weather games, especially as the season advances. I'm all for it.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was the FF Expo at home draft night in. I greatly appreciate all of you for joining us today.
This backdrop is it's my backyard. That's my backyard.
It's at the pool.
So
very nice.
Thanks again, and make sure you tune in tonight. Send us your questions. We've got some. We need more. Send us your questions. Thanks.
Wonderful.